May 17, 2001. A 17-year-old girl finishes the last day of her junior year in Phoenix, Arizona, and is never seen again. Her father says she ran away to California. But she left her phone behind, her personal belongings behind, everything a runaway would need. 23 years later, her own sister would build a case that named their father a killer. And still, no body has ever been found. Alissa Marie Turney was born in 1984 in Phoenix. Her parents divorced when she was 3, and her mother remarried a man named Michael Turney, who adopted Alissa and her older brother. When Alissa was just 9, her mother died of cancer, leaving Michael to raise 6 children alone. By 2001, only Alissa and her half-sister Sarah still lived at home with him. Alissa worked at a Jack-in-the-Box, had a boyfriend, and by all accounts was living an ordinary teenage life. On the morning of May 17, Michael Turney says he dropped her at school like always. He says he picked her up again at lunchtime. According to him, the two argued, and Alissa stormed off angry. It would be the last time anyone reported seeing her alive. Later that day, Michael and Sarah say they found a note in Alissa's bedroom, supposedly written by her, announcing she was running away to California. But the note left behind a glaring problem: her cell phone, untouched, along with other personal items she would have needed. That night, Alissa had plans to attend a party. She never showed up, and no one who knew her believed she had simply left town. 1 week later, on May 24, Michael Turney claimed he received a phone call from a California number. He said Alissa swore at him and then hung up. There was no way to verify who was on the other end of that line. It became, conveniently, the only piece of evidence suggesting Alissa was alive and had truly left Arizona. Turney filed a missing persons report the very day she vanished. But in the days that followed, Phoenix police did not suspect foul play. A teenage runaway note, a family argument, a phone call from out of state, on paper, it looked like a case closed before it began. No real investigation followed. For years, Alissa Turney's file sat quiet. Then, in 2006, a self-proclaimed serial killer named Thomas Albert Heimer, already imprisoned since 2003 for an unrelated murder, told a prison guard he had killed Alissa. For a moment, it seemed the mystery might be solved. But when Phoenix police questioned Heimer directly, the story fell apart. He admitted he may have confused Alissa with an entirely different victim. In 2008, 7 years after Alissa vanished, the case was finally reopened. That December, detectives delivered a stunning message to Sarah Turney. Her own father, Michael, was now the department's main suspect. It was the first time anyone in law enforcement had said it out loud. What investigators found next inside the family home would make headlines far beyond a missing persons case. When authorities raided the Turney home, they seized more than 24 improvised explosive devices, 19 firearms, 2 homemade silencers, and a van packed full of gasoline. Investigators also discovered a written manifesto detailing Michael Turney's plan for a rampage against the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers building in Phoenix. This was not the home of a grieving father. It was an arsenal. Then came the strangest twist yet. In 2008, Michael Turney claimed that Alissa had actually been murdered by 2 assassins sent by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, the very union named in his own manifesto. He said her body was buried in Desert Center, California. No search ever confirmed this story. It remains one of the most bizarre claims in the entire case. Michael Turney was arrested, prosecuted, and ultimately sentenced to 10 years in prison, not for Alissa's disappearance, but for the explosives and weapons found in that raid. He served his time and was released in August 2017. Alissa's case, meanwhile, remained officially unsolved. Her family was left with a father behind bars, but still no answers about where she was. While Michael served his sentence, his daughter Sarah refused to let the case fade. In June 2019, she launched a podcast called Voices for Justice, digging through more than 3,000 pages of Phoenix Police Department documents. She laid out the timeline, the inconsistencies, the note, the missing phone, piece by piece for a growing public audience. What had been a quiet cold case was about to become a national conversation. By April 2020, Sarah began posting about Alissa's case on TikTok. The videos exploded, racking up millions of views from strangers who had never heard the name Alissa Turney before. Public pressure mounted on Phoenix police to act. After more than 30 episodes, Sarah's podcast deliberately shifted to other missing persons cases, careful not to jeopardize the investigation now quietly building against her father. The pressure worked. In August 2020, 19 years after Alissa disappeared, Michael Turney was arrested again, this time in Mesa, Arizona. A Maricopa County grand jury indicted him on second-degree murder charges in the death of his adopted daughter. For the first time, it seemed the family, and the public, might finally get the answers they had waited 2 decades for. But the story refused to end cleanly. In July 2023, all charges against Michael Turney were dismissed. No trial. No conviction. No confession. The case that had gripped millions of podcast listeners and TikTok viewers collapsed back into legal limbo, leaving Sarah and the public right back where they started, only louder and more frustrated than before. Alissa's case has now been featured on 2020 twice, in 2014 and again in 2023, and on Dateline NBC in December 2023 under the title The Day Alissa Disappeared. In every single interview, across more than 2 decades, Michael Turney has said the same thing: he had nothing to do with his daughter's disappearance. He has never wavered from that claim, not once. As of 2026, Alissa Turney's body has still never been found. No desert grave in Desert Center has ever been confirmed. No assassins have ever been identified. What remains is a note without a phone call that can't be verified, a house full of weapons, and a father who has spent 25 years insisting he is innocent of the one crime no one can prove or disprove. Somewhere between a teenage runaway story and a father's bomb-making manifesto lies the truth about what happened to Alissa Turney on May 17, 2001. Her sister Sarah is still fighting for it, one document, one episode, one viewer at a time. If this case unsettled you, look into Voices for Justice yourself, and share Alissa's story, because someone, somewhere, may still remember something that matters.